Hello and welcome to Unlocking the Potential of TechEx. I'm Kim Swanson. I'm the Communications Manager at Resource, and today we're going to discover the keys to effectively navigate the AASHTO Resource Technical Exchange. This session is being recorded, so just so you are all aware of that. And you can reference it later, and we're going to send a link to all attendees later this week. So if they couldn't make it, they can have access to this great information. So after today's session, you will be able to understand the event structure and key sessions relevant to you. You'll learn strategies to effectively network at the event. And we're going to go over some event tools and resources that you'll have access to. Now, one of the newer resources available during this event is the mobile meeting app. You can scan the QR code here to download the app, visit the event site for the links and information. You can also find it on your app store. I'm going to be mentioning this a lot today, and I'm going to be sharing screenshots and things like that. So you might get tired of me mentioning the app, but it's a great tool. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys know and have it there. Now, some of the sessions at TechEx are going to be using QR codes for our audience engagement, like polls, surveys, Q&As. This will mostly be at the panel sessions, but could possibly happen in other sessions. So to help you kind of get a feel of what that will look like and feel like, we're going to dive right into one. So scan the QR code there and let us know, is this your first technical exchange? I'm going to put the link in the chat as well if you want to do that. Now, this isn't exactly the same tool that we're using during the event, but it gives you the same feel. Oh, a lot of first-time attendees. Oops, some returning attendees. Give you a minute to... Who's going to win? Anybody? All right. So more new attendees than returning. So welcome to all the new attendees. This is perfect for you. Now, the returning attendees, if you want to share your insights in the chat as we go through, that would be great. And I'm sure all the new attendees would enjoy that as well. So to get a little more information from you, what's your role within the organization? Again, I'm going to copy this, but you can scan the QR code. I'll put the link in the chat as well. But what's your role within the organization? Now, if you don't see the other option, then you can just type in it and you're not one of those roles. You can just type it in the chat. Okay. Lab manager. Ooh, quality manager in the lead. Oh, neck and neck. Wow. Very impressive. Well, I'm glad we have some lab managers and quality managers and others as well, and some directors. Ooh, I got a laboratory technician. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you. And so we're going to have that kind of interaction through the event as well. So just have your phone handy when you're at TechEx because you will be using it a lot. So thanks for sharing, everybody. Now, let's dive right into the first learning objective and talk about the basics of the event. When you arrive at the venue, you're going to want to go to the event registration area on the second floor, not the hotel registration. I don't know if anyone has ever gotten that confused, but I'm always worried somebody will. So you're going to get a badge when you once you've checked in to the event, and you need to wear the badge at all times during the official event. So that means the sessions, the social events, during the exhibitor halls, even at meals and things like that. You want to wear your badge. That way we know you were supposed to be there. Okay. So the sessions are broken up. This is a general basic thing. The sessions are broken up into one of or a combination of presentation, workshops or roundtables, and panels. So you'll be able to see what each session is labeled as in the program so you can kind of get an idea of what to expect and what kind of the dynamic is going to be for that. So speaking of the program, you can access the full program for TechEx on the event website or the app. If it's not there right now, it will be very soon. I know we've just finalized it, I think, last night. So we're going to work to get that up if it's not already up there, but you should have access to it pretty soon. And we will have a limited number of the full program printed out and available at event registration. So if you want to receive a physical copy, it might be best for you to print it out beforehand because, again, we're definitely not having enough for everybody printed out. But one thing that we should have enough for everybody is the agenda at the glance. So that is in the program and will be available separate at the AASHTO resource booth in the exhibit hall. And you can use this agenda at the glance. It will show you the session times and titles. So it's a helpful reference. I think on the back of it will be a map of the floor so you know what rooms are what. But let's take a closer look at the agenda at the glance. I hope you have all registered for the Monday afternoon event for the Internal Auditor Certificate course. This is going to be a very popular session. I know attendees have been asking for something like this for years, and we're finally doing it. It's a two-parter, so make sure you register for it if you can. I think we will have room for people just day of to walk in if you've registered for the event, but not necessarily that specific session. There should be room, but it's going to be really popular, so be forewarned. Something else that's really popular on Monday is the icebreaker reception. This is that's a great way to kick off the event and just kind of get to know people, mingle, things like that. So going into Tuesday, we have breakfast and the opening session, which is going to have a short keynote address in the opening session. And then there's some general housekeeping, what to expect throughout the week, things like that. You can see that the sessions are divided into tracks. We have a track for technicians, managers, and supervisors and directors. Those are just generally what we feel the target audience is for those sessions, but you do not have to follow that. So you can mix and match however you want. You can skip around to whatever you want. And this is the first year we're doing the tracks like this. So we're going to see how it works. It was based on feedback from previous events. So hopefully it works well. If not, I'm sure you'll let us know and we can make changes in the future for that. Now, on Wednesday, we kick off right after breakfast, right into the tracks. But right before lunch, we have a standalone session that's not within any tracks, and it's on building resilience. I have heard excellent things about this speaker and this session from people who have been at other events and seen it. And I'm actually really bummed I'm not attending TechEx in person this year because I would be looking forward to the session. So that's definitely a highlight for Wednesday. Another highlight of Wednesday is the offsite reception. This is always a good time. I think it's probably a 3 to 5 minute walk from the hotel. So bring your umbrellas if you need it, or raincoats. But we're going to have food, games, drinks. It's going to be a great time in a little less formal atmosphere to mingle with everybody. So that's going to be a great time as well. And on Thursday, it's the last day of the conference, and this is a short one. And we do that on purpose because it's been a long week. And if you need to get home, you can do that after the event, and you don't have to have travel day on the weekend. So we did that by design. So that's exciting. But the closing session is going to be fun. So if you can stay for that, please do. There's going to be Q&A for the program manager or program directors. So for the laboratory assessment program, proficiency sample program, and proficient accreditation program. So we're going to have Q&A for that. You're going to be able to give feedback on the event, on our programs. I think there's going to be prizes. So definitely stay for that. Okay. So the agenda at the glance tells you what sessions are when, but how do you know which session you should actually attend? Well, you're going to have to actually review the program for that. So look at the learning objectives, look at the full description, see if it's what track it's in or what kind of session format it is. Look at all that and then think about your organizational needs. Is there an area your laboratory is trying to improve on specifically? Are there weak points that you really want to beef up with some more extra knowledge? Also, think about your job function. Again, the tracks will be helpful to guide you here, but switch it up, bounce around as needed, whatever suits your needs for the tracks there. And also think about your interests. It's going to play a big role because no matter how engaging and great a presenter is, if you have absolutely no interest in the session, you're not going to get that much out of it, right? So make sure you have some interest and use that as a guiding factor. But the big thing is going to be the timing of it, right? So we get feedback from attendees all the time wishing that they could attend multiple sessions going on at once. So until we figure out the whole cloning thing, you're going to need to divide and conquer. If you're attending TechEx with a colleague and coworker, don't go to the same sessions. Split up and then take good notes and then share that information. If you're attending alone, make a friend at the icebreaker or at breakfast and then meet up at lunch or at the social event and see and exchange information about what you learned in a session that you couldn't attend. So again, it's a good way to get more information as well as starting to build your network a little bit. Now, the meeting app allows you to create your personalized schedule. You can view this schedule by tracks, or you can view all the sessions at once. So you can compare what's happening at which time slot, which is kind of my preferred method when I'm looking through this. So to add something to your schedule, you're going to want to click that white plus sign with the blue circle around it, and that will add the session to your schedule. Now, you can access information, and if the presentation has handouts or copies of their slides and things like that, first you want to go to the session details, and then you can scroll down, and if there are attachments, you will see it like that. There'll be an attachments link. You can click on it, you'll be able to see it, and then you can either download it or send it via email to yourself if you need to. So again, there you go. And I believe most sessions should have some handout, but don't quote me on that. There might be some that don't. Now, many attendees need professional development hours for this event. So for them to be included on your PDH certificate, which will be emailed to you after the event, you must check in to the session before it starts with the app. So you're going to want to see again in the session details, you'll see that check-in opens there. You'll also have a spot to enter a text code or scan the QR code to check in, and it will look something like that. It's going to be at the beginning and end of every session, except for the opening session and the closing session. Those are not eligible for professional development hours. And don't try to check into more than one session in a time slot to kind of work your way around getting more PDHs because it won't let you do that. So don't even try. So I want to go out into breakout rooms. So hopefully we have an active bunch. And I would love for you to just introduce yourselves, chat about what you are excited about most, what session you're kind of excited about. Now that you know you can create your own schedule based on the session titles and things like that, how do you get the most out of each session? Now, some of this I'm about to cover may seem obvious, but bear with me because it may be a helpful reminder for you. But before the session, set a personal goal. Use the session learning objectives and description to figure out what you want to do and get out of the session. Attend with a purpose. During the session, you want to be an active participant. Speak up, ask questions, stay engaged. Think about what you can do or ask during the session to help you achieve the goal that you set. Now, after the session, first things first, we're going to ask you for your feedback. So there's going to be a paper feedback form, and we're going to want your input so we can improve future events. But after you fill out the feedback form, think about your biggest takeaway from what you just learned, how you can use that in your laboratory when you get back, what questions that you might have for the speakers or panelists that you heard, or an attendee that shared something. So again, think of the next steps after so you can really get the most out of each session you attend. Now, TechEx isn't about just what you're learning at the sessions. Getting the most out of the event also entails making connections with other attendees and building your professional network. So, what are some things that you could do to help build your network at TechEx? Share some in the chat. I'm going to share some of my ideas that I came up beforehand, but put your thoughts into the chat if you have some other ones, and we'll look into that as well. But here's my list. Attend breakfasts. It's included in the registration. So might as well attend and get that food. But B, it's a great place to meet new people, to stay engaged. Again, see what was your favorite session from yesterday, or what are you looking forward to today? It's a great way to kind of get that day started off right. Also, sit with a new or different person at each session. Don't have a little clique and just stay with the same group. Try sitting with different people and kind of sharing your business card and things like that. Ask questions during the session, right? We already talked about how staying engaged is helping you get the most out of it, but it's also a great way to network because then someone's like, oh, I had that same problem you brought up. This is how I dealt with it. And you can build those connections and that relationship outside of the session. So ask questions during the session. Mingle with the exhibitors. Again, they are a good part of your network, but also the people also talking to them can be a good part of your network too. Now, outside of it, you can use the hashtag resource TechEx on LinkedIn and X, and you can kind of connect with attendees there and get more information. And the social events and the evening is a great place with a little less pressure to network and build the connections that you may have. So let's go to the chat. Let's see what we have. Bob says use the app features to connect, and we're going to get into that. Thank you, Bob. Let's see. Anyone else sit with someone new at breakfast and lunch? Yes. Just the simple go up and talk to someone you don't know. Yeah, Mark. It seems simple, but yeah, it can be that can be a little nerve-wracking. I'm not going to lie. Definitely some good advice there. And here's a fun fact, and that you might not believe me, but fun fact is I'm generally more introverted. Now, most people that know me are going to be like, what? No, you're not. But this does not come naturally to me. I'm more of an introvert. So these kind of events can take a lot out of me. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of time being on. It's just a lot. So what's helpful for me is to give myself time to recharge at the end of the event, at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, just like have a moment to collect myself and just, turn off, so to speak. And that can be really helpful too. So take the time if you need it. And again, because some may be surprised that I am actually more introverted than extroverted. But as Bob said in the comments or in the chat, that your profile in the app is a great way to start networking. You'll want to add a photo and add some of your details. But most importantly, you're going to want to make sure that you are visible. Make sure that's checked so other people can find you. So that's the important part, because you could do all that and nobody can find you, then what's the point? Also in your profile, there'll be a spot for your headline and a little about you, as well as links for your social media if you want to share that. And again, that's a great way to share your information and then look for that information for other people as well. Also, you can connect with other attendees. So here I have the attendee list sorted by company. So AASHTO is at the top. And if you click on a name or a picture to get your profile, you'll get the attendee details. And we see Robert Lutz attendee details right there. And if you clicked on the message button, you can have a private direct message with that attendee. So that's for all AASHTO staff, all of the other attendees. Again, it's a great way to kind of have a conversation or follow up with them of like, oh, your comment on this was great, or thanks for sharing that. I'm going through the same thing, kind of thing. So that's a good way to kind of get that conversation going, and kind of maintain those relationships throughout the week. Now, if you want more insights on effective networking, here is a shameless plug for season 3, episode 18 of the AASHTO Resource Q&A podcast. It's available at that QR code or all of your favorite podcast directories. And we talk, Brian Johnson and I talk with someone who I believe is going, maybe going to TechEx this year, and about networking and how you can just do that. So it is definitely a useful thing if you're a little nervous about networking. If this is maybe your first industry event and you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing, that might be helpful, or it's a good refresher. Oh, and I'm seeing some more chats coming in. Those are looking good. Good suggestions there. All right. So throughout this session, I've talked about the app as a resource, and I'm still going to do that. But there's some other event tools and resources that you actually have access to. And AASHTO staff may be the greatest resource at the event. There'll be resource staff from the laboratory assessment program, members of management, proficiency sample program, the ever popular AASHTO accreditation program will be there. You can ask them questions specifically about your lab, or if you have like a file that is in process, you can ask them questions about that. You can ask them about a session that they did or whatever. So it's a great place to mingle and put the name to the faces. I think Trudy shared in the chat that she's going to be there. So if you have a lab that she's your quality analyst, come meet her in person and ask her all the questions that you've been meaning to ask her. I'm sure she would love that. But another one of the resources we have are the exhibitors. I've talked about the exhibitors kind of a lot, but they are a great resource for you. Whether you chat them up in person at the exhibit hall or connect with them in the app, you want to take time to learn about their products and services and ask them questions to see how they can make your laboratory better. They are here for you. Plus, exhibitors and sponsors help reduce the cost of the event for attendees. So it's always great to share some love if you can. But again, they're there for you. And as well as maybe somebody who's also interested in whatever they're doing, they're a potential resource for you as well. Now, the professional network you build throughout the event can be a great tool and resource even after you go home. So you're going to want to maintain those relationships that you've built throughout next week. Follow up with people on social media or via email, and be a resource for them so they can be a resource for you. So I knew we were not going to have to use the whole hour. So here is a feedback form, speaking of feedback that we were mentioning for this session today, but I'm also going to take some questions. So you can fill that feedback form out while we go and see if anybody has questions. No questions yet. I don't see anything in the Q&A or in the chat. Is it because I'm so thorough and I answered every potential question you could possibly have about TechEx? Yes.
Question.
Yes.
I have a question. Just where do you get the, or what's the name of the app?
It's the AASHTO Meetings app. I can go
Oh, well.
back. Yeah. So if you just in your app store, you could search AASHTO Meetings, and it will be that one. There is also it is on the event. If you go to, I'll see if I can find the link and put it in there for you.
I just got the meetings one, but maybe somebody else will benefit from the.
Yeah, the meetings one is the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chad, does the internal auditor course require completion of a test? No, there will not be a test. It is just a certificate of completion, but you do have to attend both parts. So there's a part 1 and part 2. You have to. There isn't a test that is not a certification. It's a certificate of completion. I hope that answers your question. Well, as you think of more questions, I'm going to share my contact information with you. If you think of a question after the session, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer it. Like I mentioned before, I am not going to TechEx in person this year. Tier. But I am here to answer all of your questions. And because I'm the communications manager, you can also ask me questions through our social media because I'm the one that responds to that. So you can follow us on X and LinkedIn. Again, use that hashtag resource TechX to connect or ask a question. And make sure to follow along throughout the event because there will be links to related content being posted on our social media accounts as well. Oh, and Trudy is sharing her contact information as well. So thank you, Trudy. And if you want to connect with Resource, there are all the ways you can do it. You can scan the QR code to get a version of this or take a screenshot of it, or just, again, our website, ashtoresource.org. So I'm hoping you are looking forward to TechX next week. I can't believe it is already next week. Here's the feedback form link again. Any remaining questions or anything? Well, we still have technically a half hour left. Well, thank you, Mark. If you have nothing else for me or Trudy or anyone else here, feel free to hop off and get 30 minutes back of your day.